issue that we talk about in the show is people not wanting to share their feelings with each other, co-pilots, because one might be of more experience than the other, so they might know the thing that will save a plane from crashing, but they might not want to communicate it.
Nathan,
so I assume between you two,
we like each other and we talk to each other.
But there's things you probably don't share too.
Nathan Fielder appeared on CNN. And if you know anything about who this dude is,
the show is still comedy, but also this is a serious thing. But I've been just interested in commercial airline crashes just for a while, just as like a hobby. I sort of just read about them.
You fly a lot?
Like as a passenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I fly normal, like planes, like everyone.
So you're concerned about airline safety?
He will always take control of any situation.
I started to notice that they can always solve the technical stuff when a crash happens. You know, they work really hard to make sure that type of accident doesn't happen again. But for the human factor in communication, the thing keeps happening where there's miscommunication between pilots.
So clearly there's concern, you lay it out in the show. We reached out to the FAA to see what it had to say about all of this. And it told us that it mandates all airline pilots and crew members to complete interpersonal communication training. And it says it isn't seeing the data that supports the show's central claim that pilot communications is to blame for airline disasters.
Well,
so I want to get you to respond to that, obviously.
That's dumb. They're dumb. And here's the issue, is that they do, like I trained to be a pilot, and I'm a 737 pilot. I went through the training. The training is someone shows you a PowerPoint slide saying, if you are a co-pilot and the captain does something wrong, you need to speak up about it. That's all. That's the training. And they talk about some crashes that happened, but they don't do anything that makes it stick emotionally.
And flip the scripts on his subjects.
But I mean, it's like a human thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely stuff, I'm sure you guys, like you brought up the analogy, but like, I'm sure Pamela, you don't say some things to Wolf, or, because you're between you two, who would be like the boss or the more, like you're Wolf Blitzer, right? So you're like, your name is first on the thing. So I'm sure Pamela, at times you might not want to say, you know, oh, Wolf wants to do something, you don't think it's a good idea. You might not want to express that always.
She's very blunt.
We actually have a pretty, I understand your
But
point.
you have to say that now.
No.
I know, but you don't want to say to Wolf, you can't, you know, as a journalist, you don't want to say, oh, I don't want to.
She says that.
She says it to you.
Yeah.
So maybe you're afraid to say something.
Here's the great thing about Wolf is he
very
doesn't have an
blunt with her,
ego.
too.
Okay.
He has no ego, but I take your point that like.
I mean, Wolf's in movies and stuff.
He's a big deal.
He's
There
Mission
is no question.
So that's intimidating. That can be intimidating.
If somehow unaware this was the Rehearsal's second season, it was hard to top the first, and they may have done it. And it centered around Fielder's obsession with plane crashes caused by poor cockpit communication, specifically junior pilots, being afraid to speak up when their captain or their superior was making questionable decisions and flying their aircraft into fatal peril. In theory, writes Stephen Roderick of Rolling Stone, a junior pilot can take control of the airplane if they think their captain is flying dangerously. In reality, this is fraught with career-killing implications. To give one a hilarious anecdote, and even possibly, if you haven't already, a reason to watch this show. The comedian depicts Paramount Plus as Nazis after the streamer removed an episode of his show, Nathan For You, originally on HBO as well, from its platform due to what they called sensitivities around anti-Semitism. That's according to Variety. The show, which did debut in 2013 and is absolutely hilarious, ran for 4 seasons on Paramount's Comedy Central, thus being picked up by HBO.
For the show, where you met with Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen. He's the ranking member on the House Aviation Subcommittee. That meeting apparently didn't appear to go very well. In a statement to CNN, the congressman said this, and I'm quoting him now. He says he's disappointed with that meeting, saying his team was told you wanted to talk about autism and the difficulties people with the condition could have in an airplane crash. He also says most of the substantive parts of your interview never made it in the show. What are you hoping to get from that meeting? What were you hoping to get from that meeting? And have you spoken with other lawmakers here in Washington?
Well, I actually think that I tried to point out with similarities between autism, masking, and what is happening with pilots in the cockpit. And he is on the aviation subcommittee, so, and I think he works in that area too. So I was trying to draw a connection and really bring up this important issue. And, you know, it's disappointing that he's sort of saying this now, because like he still has an opportunity to tackle this issue. He's the ranking member on the aviation subcommittee. And so I don't understand why. I mean, honestly, to be honest, like he didn't seem to know a lot about, like when I brought up CRM, which is this issue, he didn't seem to really be like aware of it and the specifics. So look, I wasn't going to bring that up because like, but he seemed to like come at me a little here that, you know, so I feel like we brought him a good thing.
I find all this to be quite awesome, to be fully transparent. Someone like Nathan Fielder, who I'm not sure if you're aware got really good grades, is going on CNN and showing the relationships and how they have many flaws amongst coworkers. He exposed this right in front of our eyes. And I don't even know if the CNN audience picked up on it. I'm sure you guys did. You guys understand this stuff. But to see it just come full circle and almost be microcosmic of what he does in this show was chef's kiss brilliance. They got uncomfortable. There was one long pause that really just captures everything. Wolf is a professional. He tried asking a few follow-up questions that were duds because he's fairly boring. But seeing the way that Pamela Brown tried complimenting Wolf and them saying, no, they give each other, you know, blunt responses back and forth, and they have a good relationship. Everything's fine. They very well may. And potentially it could be that when they are put under pressure like this, they might fold. Or we could have learned something, which is what I am leaning towards. It's also really odd that someone like Steve Cohen, who plays up himself as this funny caricature congressman, he'll put out a bucket of KFC when a Trump nominee or someone in a hearing doesn't show up to call them chicken. And yet he rails against Nathan Fielder. Granted, we do not know everything that happened in this meeting, but he rails against Nathan Fielder when Fielder explains himself and why he brought up some of the things he did in that meeting. So it's alarming. It's also alarming that it feels as though the communication aspect of flying keeps getting downplayed. And he also showed everyone on how the FAA is falling short. And what did they do? They went after. They said he's wrong. I don't know, man. This is perfect for Fielder, considering, if you know anything about his work, that it is hilarious but relevant. And he really played his role once again to a T. A+. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.